Yo, what's good everyone, it's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another Geoguessr video. This time though, not actually quite Geoguessr, but instead guessing the locations of paintings. So basically, my friend Bethany from church has compiled 30 paintings and has given me in a separate document the answers of where the paintings are actually meant to be set. So what I'm gonna be doing today is, as a Geoguessr pro, analyzing these photographs and trying to guess where exactly they're set. All right, let's get into the first painting here, which immediately has a very wet vibe. This place looks like it gets a ton of rainfall, obviously very mountainous, although we can't really see how tall the mountains actually are. One thing I've noticed here immediately, these birds, could they be penguins? Because I immediately kind of got reminded of Tasmania here, and if these were penguins, that would make a lot of sense. Not necessarily, but just a thought. We have a person over here. The trees also kind of look like eucalyptus trees with the rather wide canopy. So I think it's my best guess. I think if I'm wrong, like United States could work, maybe even like a Norway could work here, obviously with this kind of fjordish landscape. Could also be New Zealand as well if I'm misidentifying the trees. But I feel like combining the trees and the birds, this should be Tasmania, Australia, not anywhere else in Australia. So let's check the answer here over on the second monitor. This is actually the Upper Nepean, which is a nature reserve in New South Wales, Australia. So country correct, but state guess was wrong. New South Wales is quite far away. I don't know, this like reddish vegetation here felt so cold, but turns out it was actually a bit more of a warm climate. So interesting one there, probably like near the Blue Mountains. Maybe editor can flash up the actual spot. But anyway, country correct, I'll mark it as a correct answer. That's 1 out of 1. Let's go for the next one. Ooh, okay, immediately different. So this is a kind of an interesting painting, super dark. We've got a church here. It's like Gothic architecture, I would say. We have the rainbow. It's fairly flat. This tree is like maybe an oak. Hard to say exactly what it is. Red roofs on all the buildings here. That's a distinctive feature. So it doesn't quite feel like the UK, for example. Ooh, look at this style of fence. We got brambles as well. The question is always in these, how much artistic license was taken? We have a hill in the background, so probably not the Netherlands, because I think the Netherlands actually would have been possible here. But this kind of church, maybe it reminds you of France, doesn't it? I feel like France is a good shout here, maybe Belgium. Although Belgium, you don't see that many red roofs, so actually not Belgium. France, maybe Germany. It could still be the UK, but I don't think the architecture is quite there. I could also see like Czechia or Hungary, maybe even Austria as possibilities here as well. Looks like it's a Catholic country based on this little shrine here. I think I want to say France, but maybe towards Germany, like a Strasbourg kind of area could make sense to me here. I think I'm gonna go for that. Oh, that's a cypress tree actually. Okay, maybe southern France then. Okay, I'm gonna switch my guess to more like a southern France here. Let's see what the answer is. But Gothic architecture, I think it still fits, right? I'm gonna leave it with that. Okay, this one is actually meant to be the English countryside. Okay, England on France is not that bad. Yeah, I was confused by this building here. This did not look English to me, but the church certainly does, so it makes sense. Well, that mustn't be a cypress tree then, unless it was just added for fun, but I don't think cypress trees grow in the UK, right? So there we go. I mean, we should have known from the cloudy weather. That's gonna be a false answer though, 1 for 2 so far. I accidentally just clicked the answer for this one on my second monitor instead of looking at the actual one. That is really annoying because I feel like I could have done this. But play along for a second, see what you think. Yeah, what do you think of this? I mean, there's clearly a few possible answers here with these super tall mountains, this kind of fjord landscape, right? What would have gone through my mind here was either New Zealand or Norway, and it is actually Milford Sound, New Zealand. I know because I just looked at the answer, so we'll mark that one down as a nil. That's a really nice painting as well. It's a little low quality in terms of resolution, but okay, next one here. This time I don't know the answer, and this is interesting. So these look like Baltic pines, Pinus Scotia, I think it's called. Scots pines, namely, is what they're called. And we're growing wheat here. So a bit further north in Europe, I could say like a Germany, Poland, Baltic country, something like that here. Obviously, I feel like there's gonna be a lot more art just painted in Western Europe. So I'd probably be more tempted by like the Polish option here, maybe, rather than the Baltics. I think it's Poland or Germany, I don't know. You don't really see too much wheat in either country. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go for Poland as my final answer here. I feel like that's a reasonable guess. Okay, this one was actually the Republic of Tatarstan in Russia, which makes a lot of sense. You get these Scots pines a lot in Russia. And to be honest, if I was going for a pure region guess, I think Russia is gettable here. And I had the right idea with Eastern Europe, but just much further east. Definitely an interesting one. That's gonna be a 0 though. We've only got the country right once so far, but we've always been in the right ballpark. Here is the next image. Wow. Okay, this one is surely gettable. Is this Venice? This is surely the town square of one of the most important cities in like Italy or something like that. I would imagine Italy, right? So I think this is Venice or what? Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go any other country apart from Italy here. If I'm wrong, it's probably like, would it be Spain or, yeah, Can't really think of anything apart from Italy here. I guess it's Italy or Spain. I'm gonna go Venice though. Let's check the answer. And this is indeed Venice. So that's a good one. I think this tower is very famous. I've never been to Italy, but I think this is a very famous Venetian tower. I don't know what this square would look like today though. That's kind of interesting. Is it still so open? What a crazy city though. Very, very cool indeed. Okay, next one. Ooh. Bit of architecture to work with here. Seems like it might be a French painter. I've been trying not to look at the names, but this one's a bit too obvious. Interesting architecture though. Is this a church? I suppose this is probably a church here. It's a winter scene, very snowy, very beautiful. The birds are big here. These are big birds. I would probably lean France or Belgium here, just based on the language. But I could see this being Nordic. You know, the way this house is like half black and half white does kind of remind you of something you might see in Sweden or Denmark, but it could easily just be Alps architecture in the east of France, maybe. I think the way we have like a mound of dirt here does remind me of France or the UK, so I think I will actually go for France here. I think it's a good option. I wonder when this was painted. Like, is this pre-power lines? Because I think Geoguessr cars and power lines would have been such a fun game, just along those trails between towns and everything. Anyway, I'm gonna go France. And this one was actually Denmark indeed. It was a Danish house. This kind of wooden motif like this does look very Danish as well. But these hills in the background did feel a bit too big for Denmark to me, I can't lie. Like, Denmark is one of the flattest countries in the world. Seeing a hill this big means you're probably in the hilliest part of Denmark, or the artist took a few liberties here. Probably more likely that, but it does make sense. Okay, well, that's another 0. Perhaps I should have gotten it, but all right. Let's move on to the next one here. Wow, this is a bit more unique. Okay, let's lock in here. So, extremely red soil down the bottom of the page. And these mountains, I want to say they're too big for Australia. Again, it kind of depends how much artistic license was taken here, but I think the peaks are just a bit too dramatic to be like near Alice Springs or something in Australia. It's still possible to me. I think Australia's an option, but just a thought I had. So obviously the USA has to be an option. Like, it kind of looks like that kind of Utah, Arizona kind of mountain that you get around there as well. What else could we say? Like Mexico could definitely be Mexico. Could be like a southern Spain. There's a few different places that look like this. I don't know, these little gullies here with the trees growing inside them do kind of look Aussie though. So I'm just trying to think, could it be there? We have the artist name here. Again, I wasn't trying to look, but I saw the artist is called Hans. But I don't know, artists travel a lot to get good frames for their paintings. So not necessarily helping too much. The foreground really does look so Australian though. I want to say, final answer, that the mountains in the background are too epic, and I'm gonna go USA, but I'm worried about Spain and Australia specifically. So let's see here. This was actually indeed the Flinders Ranges in South Australia, my own state. It really did. In the foreground, it really looked like it, but this is surely quite exaggerated. Let me actually look a picture of Will Payne a Pound here. So this is an actual photo of Will Payne a Pound here, and you can see it's pretty accurate. I mean, that's very beautiful. I should definitely try and go there. Lost the 50-50 again. Not to worry though. Let's head through to the next one. Ooh, this is cool. This is surely a Peruvian flag here, but not necessarily. Let's see, does the rest of it look like Peru? So clearly some of the people down here have dark skin. That's for sure. That's probably relevant to the image at hand. We have 2 different types of palm tree here. This is more like a fanish palm or like a standard palm. These ones are huge and wild, so that's interesting. Red roofs on the huts. We've got big stone buildings here. This could be like a place where like slaves were sold. I'm not really sure. This almost feels a bit Asian, but not quite. I think we're looking at Africa or South America here. Is this really a Peruvian flag? I feel like the artist has taken quite some liberty with whatever this palm is. That surely does not actually look like that in real life. I gotta be honest, guys, I'm not getting a Peru vibe here. I feel like this might be Africa. I want to say it's like Ghana or something here. Something in West Africa, maybe. The boats are so strange though. It could also be Asia for all I know. I don't know. I'm just not feeling Peru on it. So I'm gonna go Ghana here. That's my guess. Let's see. This is actually India. No, yeah, this is India. This is Bengal, India. Maybe these boats did feel more Asian vibe. And to be fair, people in East India do have very dark skin, so it does make sense on that level. The flag was a complete bait. Very cool. These palm trees, that is not something you see in India, unless these are somehow extinct now. That's a crazy one. Okay, round number 9, immediately like African safari vibes. I mean, it could be Australia again, but I just want to go like Kenya or like South Africa or something like that, you know? Maybe like Tanzania. There's so many options. What do I actually think it looks like? I want to say it's a bit too grassy for Kenya, but I don't know. Kenya gets super grassy too. Maybe like a Zimbabwe. I feel like Zimbabwe looks like this. I'm gonna lock in Zimbabwe, but I think it's somewhere in Africa. This is in northern South Africa. So right near Zimbabwe. That is a good guess. It's a wrong answer, but it's a good guess. That would have given us a nice amount of points. Obviously Zimbabwe, South Africa, they border each other. That's a good answer. Okay, next one here. Wow, this is cool. Okay, so clearly Europeans based on the way they're dressed here, these fancy hats and everything, light-skinned people. What would you say? This is kind of more of an impressionist artwork, right? We've got like a stone castle or something here. It kind of reminds me of when I went to like the castle at Dubrovnik, but I don't think it's there. I think the people are dressed in a way that I would not expect from Eastern Europe. Okay, look at this beach over here. Interesting. I want to say that this is like Malta or perhaps like southern Spain, but I want to say, well, even England. It could be the English coast because I know they do these things in England, but I don't know the style of castle. Like it could be the south coast of England, but do we commit to an England? I want to actually say Malta here. How long have the English been in Malta is my next question. I feel like if this was like painted in the 20s, that could still make sense. Maybe the 10s. It's probably painted in the teens. I'm gonna go Malta. Let's see. This one is Australia. Wow. It is the 10s though. It is 1911. Wait guys, I got confused here. The artist is Australian, but this is actually painted in France. Okay, there we go. That makes much more sense. I wasn't thinking that this kind of thing would be Australia. And by the way, I'll put in a comment or the description or somewhere all the descriptions of the artists if you want to actually check out any of these artworks, because Bethany did include that for me. Another 0-pointer. Malta on France. It's not the worst guess ever. Not the best guess either though. Okay, what are we looking at here? This one's quite abstract. Some kind of a lake. It almost looks like Salt Lake City in Utah a little bit here. Could see a USA, could see like a South Island, New Zealand here. Could even see like Norway, because it's so nondescript. It really makes things hard here. It's not an obvious one, that's for sure. Why do we have this kind of beach? I'm gonna say it's not the USA. I think the beach makes it quite suspicious for the USA. I could see a New Zealand working. I don't know, there's just so many options here. It could be like many European countries as well. Not only Norway, but this could be like Ireland, it could be UK, it could be France. Maybe not France, but you know, there's options. I'm gonna go New Zealand. Let's see. This one is actually Jerusalem. It's a George Lambert, and we're looking at the Mount of Olives on the Dead Sea. That is a very cool one. I think that's gettable, yes, but also a little too abstract for me to be too annoyed about missing the answer here. Okay, next one. Ooh. Well, this immediately reminded me of the Rocky Mountains, like in British Columbia or something, but the vegetation at the bottom here is a bit weird. Canada, a front runner. Could it also be Australia again? I think this is a bit too outlandish for Australia, maybe. Could we be up in like the Himalayas or something? Switzerland, yes, maybe. France, Italy, anything up in the Alps is possible here. Edgar Payne. I don't know if these trees quite feel Canadian, but I want to commit. I'm going to go for British Columbia, Canada, but you've heard my thought process here. Let's see what it is. And it is, Sierra Nevada, California. That makes a bit more sense for the trees. We are kind of in the right mountain range almost. But yeah, that makes a good amount of sense there. Another 0, but another one where we're in the right ballpark here, I would say. I want another success. Okay, Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. Now the question is, where is it set? I've always wondered, I always interpreted this as being a castle, like a very cool castle, but more of like an abstraction of a castle. But here's the real architecture we got to focus on. So Vincent van Gogh is from the Netherlands, I believe. It's a Dutch name. I think he was Dutch, right? It's a hilly landscape here though, so we're not in the Netherlands, evidently. The houses, I don't know. Could be France, could be Germany, could be any number of places here. I kind of like a France. I'm gonna lock it in, not sure. It's a pleasant landscape, right? Kind of makes sense. This is, in France, in Provence, France. He is of course Dutch, and this is the monastery of St. Paul de Massot. So that is a good result there. Happy with that one. Another point to the tally. Okay, and moving on to question number 14. This is of course Mount Fuji. This would have to be one of the only places in Japan that looks like this, with the very prominent single mountain that's a volcano. The other possibility is that it's Rishi Fuji, which is the one that's off the coast of Hokkaido. There may be a few other places in Japan that look similar, but I'm confident it's not China. I'm confident that it's not Korea. This has to be Mount Fuji, right? I'm locking it in. And that is Mount Fuji indeed. We're making a late resurgence here, our third and fourth correct answers. Let's head through to number 15. Now I've got 30 images total. I think I'll do the second 30 in part 2. So just let me know if you want to see it. And here we go. It's a castle. It's a mossy castle. We've got European buildings in the background here, but look at how bare these mountains are. This almost reminds me of when I went to Georgia. However, I'm relatively certain it's not there because of this castle. This castle looks more like Germanic or probably British British Isles. I could see this being Scotland, like the Scottish Highlands. I know there are lots of castles in Scotland, so I'm thinking about that here. Very rocky as well. I feel like this makes a lot of sense. Thatched roofs, kind of classic British Isles architecture there. The mountains may be a bit too tall. Like, could it be in the Nordics? Maybe. Could be Denmark. Maybe could be Norway. I don't know. I'm gonna go Scotland here. That's my final answer. Could be Ireland. I think Scotland or Ireland, but I'm gonna go Scotland. And this is in Scotland. Scotland. Okay, 3 in a row to finish off the episode there. So actually proven we still have what it takes to get some correct answers. Again, massive thank you to Bethany for putting this together in her own free time. If you made it this far, give her a thanks in the comment section. And yeah, guys, let me know when you want to see part 2. Hope you all enjoyed it. I guess out of the total, we did 14 questions properly and we got 5 out of 14 for the country. But I think we always mentioned the correct region apart from the India one. Hope you all enjoyed it. Till next time, guys, and goodbye.